My name is Maya and welcome to the episode 27 of the Mila's Tinks Knitting Podcast, where I share all my thoughts, process and other random stuff about all things fiber related, but mostly knitting. So today is the 20th of July 2024 and I'm coming to you from the French-speaking part of Switzerland where I live with my gecko. You can find me on Instagram as milahis.tinks and you can find links of everything I talk about down in the description box below, as well as my measurements if you are interested. So today we have a jam-packed episode because I have knit a lot in the past 2 weeks since the latest episode, and I have quite a lot to show you. So I have 3 finished objects, one of which I'm wearing. The second one you have never seen because I have cast it on and finished it in the meantime. And the last one is not knitting, it is sewing, and it's here. I have one new cast on, and I have finished the knitting on my gigantic colorwork blanket that I have been working on since last year, so it's a huge milestone. And that's it. It's already a lot, so let's get started. So the first thing, as I mentioned, is what I'm wearing underneath this super cool shirt with giraffes and zebras, and yeah, I just love it. And yeah, this is a self-drafted camisole. It's really just a completely random camisole with triangular cups also on the back. And I have knit it using Lino by BC Garn, which is 100% linen fingering weight yarn, and it's lovely. And I don't know the color name. I think I have the tag maybe hanging around somewhere. I found it. So this is the tag. It's exactly what I said. And the colorway is 63. It's like what's the name? Pastel purple, like a very very light washed out purple color. But I'm gonna tell you the story behind this garment first. So I have a store-bought camisole that looks exactly like this. I have a video of me wearing it, and it's like flared out shape and in a very very drapey and lightweight fabric, and I just love it. I wear it all the time, and I kind of wanted to see if I could replicate it with knitting. So I did the first try and it absolutely didn't work out because first the yarn was too thick. I knew it wouldn't work, but I wanted to try anyway. And I didn't have enough yarn, so I couldn't get the flaring out shape. So this time I bought 100 grams of this, which I thought would be enough, and obviously it was, but more on that later. So yeah, basically on this store-bought camisole I had a few key points I wanted to stick to. So it was the drapey and thin fabric as I mentioned, the very shallow cups. I didn't want it to have the big triangles that come from the top of the shoulder to the bottom. I wanted the flaring out shape, and I wanted it to be long enough to tuck inside a high-waisted bottom like this one. And I wanted to avoid having too much fabric since I wanted to tuck it in. If I had thick fabric, it would be like bulky underneath here, which I didn't want. And there was one issue with the original garment, which was it was a little bit too large at the bust. So when I'm leaning forward, I am flashing everyone. I don't really care if people can see my breast, really. I just don't care. But yeah, I figured if I was making it myself, I might as well do it in a way that solves this issue. If I could, why not? So I did that, and I'm happy to report everything worked out. Kind of. So let me go into the details. First, I didn't make my life easy because I didn't do any gauge swatch, and it was my first time working with this yarn, so I had just no idea how it would behave. But since this is a pretty easy shape to do, I was like, if it doesn't work out, I can just start over, so I will just try and see how it works. And really, I did it on the first try, so yeah. I'm pretty proud of myself. Anyway, so what I did is I cast on at the top of the cup here, and I did two different increase rates. So one kind of slow increase rate for like this much, and then I did a super rapid increase rate, which was probably one stitch for every row. So it means also on the wrong side row I did the increases until I was just holding the triangle on top of me and seeing like, is it big enough? Yes, it is. And then cut the yarn, did the second cup, and then I joined two cups together, and then I did a little bit more increases on the sides here, because I wanted to have the armhole be a little bit lower than the v-neck. And I did exactly the same for the back, and then I joined everything in the round. And I did increases, 4 increases at the underarms every... I don't remember. I don't know if it was 5 or 4 rows. I have no idea. Maybe 5. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna just take it out of the skirt. I got this kind of shape. You cannot see anything. So yeah, it's flaring out like this because I have the increases happening here at the underarm. And yeah, look at this. The drape I got is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I knew it would be great because it's 100% linen, but this is like, wow, it looks like water. I'm just obsessed. Yeah, I think it's a win for me, for the shape and everything. And also I managed to do the upper bust fitted, which means if I lean forward, you cannot see much of what's happening underneath, which is not the case for the original one, because if I'm like this, you are basically seeing everything. So I did great. I'm pretty happy about this one. And the one thing I ended up doing to avoid having too much bulk when I tuck it in is that I did a split hem, a very small one, because let me explain what happened. So when I reached the bottom of the hem, I was like, I almost don't have any yarn left. And it was definitely not long enough to be tucked inside. And I also noticed that since I was doing the increases only on the sides, I was getting a trapezoidal shape. For example, if you knit a triangular shawl and you start from the middle, I mean not from the point but from the straight edge, imagine a triangular like this shawl, you cast on here and then you do the increases, and you're gonna get a triangle because you do the increases here and in the middle. So you get straight edges on both sides because you only get increases here, I mean at the angles from what you're knitting. I don't know if this makes sense, but yeah. And in this one, since I did the increases only here, I had a straight edge here and then the sloped edges on here. So straight, sloped. And it wasn't really great because if I wanted to tuck this inside it, and this was much longer, I mean you can kind of see here it's hanging out lower than this, but it was even worse before it was going like this. So I needed to add short rows to accommodate for the fact that this section was shorter than the sides. And I was running out of yarn. And I knew it would mean that on the sides here I would have probably a lot more fabric because this is longer. So yeah, I really needed to do short rows. And I figured I also should stop the increases at some point because I didn't really need to have extra fabric underneath the bottom thing, pant, skirt, whatever. But if I just stopped doing the increases, I would have something like tighter here. I would have a shape that would look like this and this. And I didn't want that. So I did a split hem, which would also work with the short rows because I just think it looks better. So I did that, but it meant that since I was already running out of yarn, I would play an epic game of yarn chicken, because when I started the split hem, I knit for a while straight, and then I did the short rows, and then I had to do the other side, not knowing if I had enough yarn. And if I ran out of yarn, I would have to unravel the whole short rows on both sides and the straight section until I get down to when I was in the round, and then unravel a little bit of in the round, and then knit again the split hem, the short rows and everything. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I was just hoping for the best, hoping I would have enough yarn to finish all of that. So what I did, when I finished the first hem, the first split hem, the front half, I didn't bind off, and I started knitting from the inside of the ball. So I had the ball attached on the two sides to the project, and I knit the back hem, and I managed to do everything, and then I was like, I have the two bind off to make, and I had a little bit of yarn left, but I had no idea if it was enough or not. So what I did is that I unraveled the whole ball, and I did a knot in the middle of the yarn I had left. So I just took the two ends and followed the thread until I made it to the end, which meant it was the middle, since I didn't cut my yarn at all and I was knitting from both sides at the same time. I did a little knot, and then I started doing the bind off on one side, on the front, and I finished the bind off, but I had to undo the knot, and I used like 10 centimeters after the knot. So it meant that I had used a little bit more than half of the yarn I had left. So I knew that for the second half I wouldn't have enough. But it was so small, so I figured I could probably find something in my stash that was approximately the same color, fiber content and everything. So I did that. Which means that on one side, I don't know which one it is, yeah, here, I had to finish the bind off with another yarn. So until here the bind off is normal, and then here it's a little bit darker because yeah, I had to use something else, and I just found another linen yarn that was a grey color, so a little bit too dark, but it was linen, at least it was the same fiber, because I had something that was exactly the same light pastel purple, but it was 100% non-superwash merino. So I was like, this is going to felt. So yeah, I didn't want it to mix fibers. I prefer to have different colors in the same fiber. So I did that, which means now I have this kind of thing hanging out there. I mean, you cannot see it anyway because it's stuck inside, but yeah, I just found it pretty funny. So in my head, I won the yarn chicken, but really I lost. But I mean, I still managed to do everything, and I didn't have to unravel the split hem and the short rolls, so I'm pretty happy. But yeah, it was a funny one. So in the end, everything is kind of perfect, especially the fit on the top. I think I will probably have to, I'm way too hot, sorry. I will probably have to shorten the straps a tiny bit, but then it will probably be a little bit difficult to tuck in because it's already kind of short. But yeah, I don't know, probably something like this. And I think the straps are a little bit too close. I would prefer if they were like here, and they are more like here. But yeah, it's a very, very small difference. So I'm okay, I'm not going to unravel just for that, but I think if I ever do something like this again, I'm probably going to do more increases on the inside than on the outside, which is going to make the whole thing a lot more complicated than it is, because for now it's super easy. But yeah, I think it will probably be worth it. And yeah, that's it for this one. So I'm pretty happy, and I'm not going to get rid of the original store-bought one because it's still lighter to wear. This is absolutely not warm in any form, but yeah, it's still, I mean, it's still different than the store-bought, of course, because of the nature of the fabric. So yeah, I'm just happy I managed to finally replicate this garment. It was kind of a challenge to myself, just like challenges sometimes. And yeah, I did it, so pretty happy about that. And so yeah, I love the drape, I love the texture. You can probably tell it's a little bit see-through. I mean, not see-through, but like you can, I mean, you can see what's happening beneath it, of course. I'm not oblivious to that, but yeah, I just don't care. at all. The thing is, if I was a man, nobody would do any remark regarding the fact that you can see what's happening below it, and I cannot justify in any means that I would need to hide my tits if a man doesn't, because you can always see them underneath the t-shirt of any guy you see, so why would you not say anything to a guy, but I would have to hide them? No reason. Absolutely none. So I'm definitely advocating for that, and I think even if we are on YouTube and this is a video that's on the public space or whatever, I would also go out like that in the street, just minding my business in the city or whatever. So yeah, I'm just... that's it. That's a human body and it is how it is, and I don't need to hide it. So yeah, that's my take on that. So let's get to the second finished object. I'm way too hot, as I said, so I'm not going to put this back on, even though it's super cool. Let's take a moment to appreciate how cool this shirt is. Yeah! Anyway, so yeah, my second finished object is behind me. It's... wow! It's the second pillow. I have finished the first one this winter, I forgot when, and basically what happened is that I did my first quilt 2 years ago. I finished the quilt top successfully. I did the quilt sandwich with the batting and everything, and I just needed to do the quilting. But then suddenly I got afraid because I didn't really... I mean, I did a great job on the quilting, I mean not the quilting, the sewing in itself, and I was just terrified of ruining everything with the actual quilting, and I didn't really know what to quilt on it. I thought maybe I could do straight lines, but I didn't know in what direction. So I figured, since I had a lot of leftover fabrics leftovers, yeah, I could do some practice pillows with the leftovers and try some quilting on that. So I did that. I did 4, and I finished the first one, which is here, and then I did 2 other which are only purple and pink like this, and I gifted them to my parents and my brother. And the last one, this guy, just stayed unfinished since then, and I just couldn't find the time to finish it, but now I have. So it's here, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, I'm super proud of it. And yeah, I decided to do a diagonal line quilting, just following the motifs. And I did an envelope style back, and I didn't have any of this color left, so I had to do something with some leftover fabrics, which ended up being black, which is not really pretty, but I don't care because it's the back anyway, so whatever. And yeah, it's finally done. So now I have the pair of pillows on my couch, and I just need to finish the actual big quilt. But yeah, it's been 2 years and I really need to do it. But I think I will have the time this summer, because yeah, I will do a little life update at the end of the episode, but I'm gonna have a lot more free time in the not too distant future, which also means we're gonna have some changes on the channel, but good changes. But yeah, more on that at the end. So yeah, that's my second finished object. It's great, and that's all I have to say on this. Apart from the fact that the back is a little bit too small, so it just opens. But yeah, I just did with what fabric I had left, and I couldn't get my hands on more of this fabric, so yeah. I didn't even say the name of the quilt design. It's the Deco quilt by Lo&Behold Stitchery, and it's great. I mean, I had never sewn a quilt in my life before, and I just followed the instructions and it was pretty easy, so great pattern, I guess. So yeah, that's my second finished object. So the second is knitting, and it is something I have cast on last week, and I finished it this weekend. And it's a summer top. This is the arrow block. the Arrow Bralette by Iris H or Iris Makes on Instagram, and it's just great. I love this design so much. It has the distinctive arrow motif on the front, and it's a like spaghetti strap camisole kind of thing. It looks super super tiny. I will put it on later, but first I knit this using Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colorway Natural White, which is, I think, discontinued. I bought this at my local yarn shop and I cannot find it on the Knitting for Olive website, so I guess it doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, it's the closest I could find is the cream color, and this one is a little bit more less yellow, I would say. It's really just white, not white paper white, like this is paper, but still a nice natural color. But yeah, it's natural white. It's the name of the color. But yeah, and believe it or not, I used one 50-gram ball to do all of this. More on that later again. So yeah, it's actually the second time I'm knitting this, because the first one is here and it's great and I love it. It's actually one of my favorite summer garments. But this is a discontinued yarn. It's Meara by Holland Mills, which is 100% non-superwash merino blend, and it's very thick, it's very warm, it's very lovely, and it doesn't exist anymore, and I just want to use this yarn for something else. So I wanted to unravel this, not because I didn't like it, because this is one of my favorites, but before unraveling it, I wanted to knit another one. So I did. And now that this is done, I can unravel this one, cry, and then use the yarn for the other purpose I have. So yeah, we can do a little comparison of the two. So for this one, I kind of follow the pattern, but not really, because the pattern is very well written first, and it explains how to use your own gauge to get a garment that will fit you perfectly, basically. Because this is ribbing, this is super stretchy, and there are different instructions for different cups with bust shaping. You can see the increases here. And yeah, depending on your gauge and your difference in the underbust and the upper bust, you can choose corresponding cup shaping, and have a garment that will fit you perfectly. So I kind of did that, but at the same time I didn't, because I just remember I know exactly how much increases I should do when I do something fitted, and I kind of didn't have the brain space to compare what I knew I should do to what was in the pattern. So I kind of cast on one of the stitch counts that was in the pattern, and then I increased to one of the stitch counts that would work for me, without really following the increase instructions. And then I did the front thing here. But the problem is that on the sides, the increases are kind of offset. Because the bind off is starting here. This is the bind off for the back, and then you have the I cord on the side here with the increases, and my increases are kind of offset. I mean, they should be here, so that this line, this guy, is aligned with this, but it didn't work out. So you have this weird thing happening, and it's not even symmetrical with the other side for some reason. I don't know, I just completely messed up. So yeah, you have this thing here. Wasn't a fan of that. So for the second one, I still didn't have the brain space to modify the pattern to be something that would be perfect for me, since I already know my numbers. So what I did is I cast on, I literally didn't swatch, I cast on a certain amount, just, we will see if it works or not. And then I tried it on, and it was of course way too big, so I just pinched out the excess fabric, and then I cast on again the new number. And then when I arrived at around my underbust, I started doing my increases, knowing what works for me. And when I had enough fabric to cover my full bust, I started doing this. And for this, I followed the pattern, but for everything else, I didn't. So, but this time, I did align correctly my increase line with the beginning of the I-cord here. So you can see, this is now very crisp and looking nice. And this looks great. This doesn't look great. I mean, what's happening here? Yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, and then I did follow the instructions for this section, which is perfect. I mean, you could also just follow the pattern, but for some reason it was more difficult for me to plug what worked for me inside the pattern, because that meant I would have to really go into the pattern, understand every single step, understand where is the where the designer put the increases, and swap that for mine, and make sure this would align with the I-cord edge and I would not have the I-cord be on a purl column, and then make sure this was still centered, because you have to be on a knit column, and if I ended up on a purl column it would look terrible. So yeah, it was just easier for me to just do my own thing and then plug this in than try and follow the pattern and plug my increases in. Yeah. So that's what I did, and yeah, I will now put it on for you. So this is what it looks like, and it's great. I like wearing white in the summer, so this is a perfect color for me. And this is the length, so it's hitting just my belly button is here, so it barely hits my high-waisted bottoms, which is perfect. I absolutely don't mind showing my belly. Actually, this guy is longer than this one, because this one I have maybe, it hits like here, I think. This is a little bit shorter. It didn't bother me, but yeah, that's just how it ended up being. I didn't really do it on purpose. And yeah, as I mentioned, I used one whole 50-gram ball for the whole thing, which was again another epic game of yarn chicken, because as you can tell, once you start this motif, you have to go, I mean, I didn't say this is bottom up. So you cast on the whole body and then you knit until here where you bind off the back, and then you start doing the top section. And once you start the top section, you need to have enough yarn to finish it and knit the straps. So I started doing the front and I was quickly running out of yarn. I was like, I'm not gonna have enough. So I finished one side and then I started knitting the second side here with the other end of the ball. So I was again knitting from both ends of the ball at the same time. And then I finished this and I had a little bit left. I was like, maybe it's enough for the straps, I don't know. So I started knitting one strap. No, I think I did the same trick. When I was here, I unraveled the whole ball and I did a knot at the half point, and then I started knitting a strap, and when I made it to the half point, I stopped and I started knitting the other strap using the rest of the yarn. So both straps were the exact same length, and I tried it on and it was the perfect length. It was just perfect. So I was like, so I blocked it, and then the straps ended up being, they stretch a little bit with blocking, so I cut a little bit off, and this is all I have left of the 50-gram ball after knitting this whole thing. Yeah, so I think pretty good job. I totally win yarn chicken on this one. So I mean really, yarn chicken is probably one of the top 3 things that motivate me the most. I love it for some reason. It gives a little excitement, and I don't know, I just love it. And you know what? I had 2 balls. So I bought 2 balls thinking this would use 2 balls, but when I saw that there was a chance I could finish it with one, I was like, I'm not gonna touch the second one. I'm gonna bring it back to the shop and not touch it. So it was like a challenge to myself to finish this with just 1 ball, even though I had the second one just watching me from the side. But yeah, I just wanted to see if I could do it, and I did, so. Anyway, Oh, there was just one thing also I wanted to mention, is that I unlocked a new trick, which is long tail cast on but stretchy, without using a bigger needle, without using two needles held together, whatever, just long tail cast on, but it's stretchy. Because this is a long tail cast on, and I mean, there is no... it's the same stretch as the fabric in itself, really. And I had no problem putting it on. Usually I have troubles with my shoulders because they are kind of broad compared to my waist, so I usually get stuck at some point when I'm trying to put something over them. But with this, no problem. And if you are wondering how I do this, because long tail cast-ons tend to be really, really tight, well, I just do it loosely. That's all. Yeah, it's a pretty bad advice, I know, because since I started knitting, it has been a struggle for like 4 years that my long tail cast-on were too tight. And no matter what I did, I could even use the trick where, you know, you are holding two needles together and doing the cast-on on two needles, still too tight. Even if I mean, I could, whatever I tried, it was too tight. So for a while I was using the cable cast-on, no, not the cable, the backwards loop, it's hard to say, the backwards loop cast-on, which is great, and it has a lot of very good points, but it's just a little bit difficult to knit the first row in it. So I was like, for this one I will try to just do it loosely, and not just the loop on the needle to do loosely, but also the loop that goes around, I mean at the bottom of the loop on the needle. I'm just not going to close it down completely. So I just did that super loosely, and I mean, it's super stretchy. It's just perfect. So it was a bit difficult at the beginning, because when you're used to tugging on it when you do the cast-on, it's very difficult to stop yourself from doing it. But once you get the trick, it's super easy. And now all my cast-ons are just so easy and stretchy, and it just changed my whole life. So yeah, that's my advice, to just cast on loosely. I'm sorry if this is not helping you, but yeah. Yeah, I just unlocked this new ability and I'm super proud of it. Anyway, so... oh yeah, I didn't say it very clearly, but I couldn't really tell you which size I knit, because I have no idea. My stitch count is completely off. It's not even in the pattern. I think the closest one is the second largest size, because my gauge is so tight. I knit this on 2.25mm needles. I have zero chill. At first I started on 2.5 and it was not see-through, but a little bit more revealing than this, and I was like, it could be fine, but I can go lower. I can use smaller needles, so I'll just do it. So I just cast on again using 2.25mm, which is, yes, the needles I use for socks. So this is literally at a sock gauge. So it's minuscule. I think my gauge is like 40 stitches. It's ribbing, of course, but yeah, it's a lot smaller than this. Not sure you can really tell, but yeah, this has much larger ribbing than this. But I still finished it in a week, so I guess it wasn't too much. But yeah, I really like small gauges, and since I had a lot more knitting time the past few weeks, I was like, why not? So I'm happy I did, because I'm super happy about this and the small gauge. So yeah, that's it for this one. The next thing I want to talk about is my new cast-on, and it is also a self-drafted camisole, but it's absolutely not the same as this. Can you see here? I haven't woven in my hands because I wasn't sure if the straps were the correct length, so I wanted to wear it for a bit so that the straps would elongate a little bit, and I just didn't weave in so that I could shorten them easily if needed, which is probably the case, so I'm glad I didn't. Anyway, just a trick. Yeah, so my only work in progress for this week is, as I mentioned, a self-drafted camisole, and this is a swatch. Eee! So cute. This is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. It's also my first time trying it, as is the Cotton Merino. I had never tried Knitting for Olive. Yeah, so this is the colorway Rhubarb Juice, and it's a light, kind of dusty pink. It's between dusty pink and pastel pink, I would say, and it's really lovely. I have no idea if it really suits me or not. Don't know, whatever, I just like the color. And what I'm trying to do is not very clear for now. This is the bowl. Yeah, so it's just a piece of stockinette. But let me explain. So my idea was, I wanted a camisole that was with a square front. I have the lila top that's very similar with the square front, but I wanted it to be a little bit lower, like not boat neck, really just like this. Straight, and then increases here, and then straight back, just like this one. Same back as this, but instead of having a little bit of a v-neck, straight, like this, in stockinette. And I wanted to have the neckline at the front to be folded over stockinette, as well as the back. And it's so simple, I was pretty sure something already existed, so I just browsed through my saved post, because if I had the idea, there was a small chance that it was because I had seen it before. So I just browsed on my saved post first on Instagram, and I found it. I found what had probably sparked the idea in my head, but the design is so not size inclusive. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like 5 sizes, and the biggest size is, I think, 100, I don't know, 5 centimeters? Like, what? That's not even going to the average size? I just can't believe it. And it's such an easy design, I just don't understand. It's beyond me. Anyway, so I'm not going to mention the designer or the name of the pattern here, but I will link it in the description box if you want to see. But I just don't want to give any sort of visibility to this person and her work, because I mean, the design is so easy, just create it for the bigger size. Anyway, so I really didn't want to knit this particular design, first because of this, and also because it was DK weight, and it was pretty, I just didn't like the finishings. I can show you a picture. The top part, as I mentioned, is a folded hem, and the back is also, but then there is a weird connection between the folded part of the back and then the straight of the, I mean, I just didn't like the way it was crossing, and I didn't like the raw edge on the side. So I figured I would prefer if it was one whole band of either double knit or folded over stockinette over the whole side, and then stockinette coming out from that. But if I did knit just a circle of folded over stockinette and then knit straight from that, I would get gaping here, and basically where the angles are, on the top here where the straps connect, and at the underarm where you go from the diagonal line to the horizontal line, there would be gaping here, which means I would probably need to do increases or decreases to shape that folded hem, which was a little bit complicated to do if you don't have the rest of the fabric. So I was like, that means I should knit it from the bottom up, but I hate bottom up because I'm always playing yarn chicken, and as much as I like yarn chicken, I also prefer, if I can, avoid it sometimes, not always. So yeah, I just didn't want to do it bottom up. And also, since I'm using pure silk, and I have heard this tends to stretch out a lot with fabric, no, not fabric, what? Stretch out a lot with wearing and blocking and washing and everything, I figured it would probably be best to have stabilized edge at the side, especially where the straps are connecting, because you can also see in the pattern pictures that the back is kind of, there is quite a bit of deformation caused by the weight of the fabric. So yeah, I just wanted to avoid that to the max, so I figured it would actually be best to just cast on the edge on the whole camisole or top or whatever, and then shape the front, I mean this part, not like knitting this with increases and then casting on the back, but just casting on everything and then knit one round and then do short rows on this section to shape the front until I reach the correct depth I need, and then once I'm here, knit in the round to the bottom. So that's what I did, and it looks like this. So this is the front, because you have a lot of fabric there, and then on the side, I'm gonna show you the other side. So this is the corner of the short rows, and then I started doing the short rows here on this edge, and here I stopped, and here this is where I started knitting in the round. So you can see here I have a lot more fabric because I did the short rows here on this side, and then I knit in the round on the whole circumference. But I had to start over 2 times because the first time I cast on the stitches, I did all of that, and then I started knitting in the round, and after a few centimeters, probably this much, I was looking at my work and I was like, it's twisted. And I couldn't believe it because I checked literally 600 times, I'm not even kidding. I checked so many times to see if it was twisted or not, and it wasn't, I swear it wasn't. And then when I started knitting it around, it was, and I was like, ah, it's not possible! But yeah, obviously it was. So again, I checked 600 times to make sure it was twisted, and it was. So I took out my needle, and then I inserted the needle back into the fabric, just 2 rows, 2 rows on top of the cast on, because my plan, I didn't want it to do the short rows again, so basically I inserted the needle like here. This is the front with the short rows. So I inserted the needle here, and I ended up pretty close from the cast on edge where there weren't any short rows. On the whole circumference, I started unraveling everything, and my plan was to basically do, I would have like the cast on edge and 1 row knitted, and I could do a little twist of that and then start knitting straight. And I would just have a little bit of a twist at one point, but if I put that at the underarm and then I pick up the stitches to do the folded hem on top of that, it would be pretty much invisible. So I was like, I don't want to do the short rows again, I don't want to do the cast on and everything again, so I'm just going to have this little twist hidden somewhere and it will be fine. So I unraveled everything, and then I was like, so where is the twist? I'm going to do the opposite twist to untwist stuff. And it had disappeared. It wasn't there anymore. And that's when I realized I had already done that when I finished the short rows and I started knitting it around. I had inadvertently twisted my untwisted cast on, and I had already this little thing where it was twisting on 2 rows, but I didn't see it because it was curling up like this. So the twist was hidden in the first 2 rows, and I just didn't see it when I was checking for the whole thing. I don't know if my story makes sense at all or not, but yeah. So unraveling until the first 2 rows basically solved my issue, because the cast on in itself was fine. It was just on the 3rd row that I had twisted it. So yeah, it was happy ending in the end. So I started knitting again in the round without having the work twisted, and then I tried it on. I took the front like this with the 2 corners and I put it on top of me, and it was like this wide. It was already coming out of my shoulders like this, and I was like, no, this is way too wide. I messed up. So yeah, it was just not possible. I just couldn't make it work. So I had to unravel almost everything. I had to unravel the short rows this time. I could just keep the cast on edge and the first row. So I again removed my needle and then picked up those first rows. And then I started doing the short rows again, this time maybe before it was here, and this time I had to do the corner maybe 30 stitches more in, so that I would get a shape that's really sitting on a nice spot. So now I will have the straps coming from here and here, and it's gonna be perfect. Because now also the end of the short row is here, and it's the perfect length. So I solved everything, but I still had to start over twice. Kind of. I didn't do the cast on twice, but yeah. I managed. I'm doing it. It should be fine for the third try, but yeah, it's super lovely fabric. I really, really like it. I have no doubt about the fact that a lot of people say this pills, because I can definitely tell. But since this is not going to have any arms or fabric that will rub against fabric, I don't think I should have too many issues with peeling, so should be fine, but yeah, we'll see. And I think that's it. So can we please take a moment to appreciate the fact that I actually need a swatch, which is pretty rare. But yeah, with all the short rows and stuff happening, I was like, I'm not gonna start over 3 times because I cast on the wrong number of stitches. So yeah, I did that for once. And that's it for my work in progress. So this is gonna be finished probably in 2 days, knowing myself. Yeah, so that's it for my work in progress. And now, are you ready? I'm gonna show you the most beautiful thing ever, because I have finished knitting the hexagons of my colorwork blanket, which is the Arctic Morning blanket by Jenise Hope, which is absolutely gorgeous. She has a lot of this kind of blanket designs. And I finished the 29th hexie after 7 months of knitting. And here it is. Look at this. It's so beautiful. Oh! And if you've seen this project before, you may remember that actually my main color is black or dark grey for the whole blanket. So why is this guy white? Well, because this is a centerpiece. This is the keystone of the whole thing. And what's funny, I mean not funny, it's not funny, but it's what's great, amazing thing, is that this is mainly knit with a contrast color that someone sent to me. So a very good friend of mine, which also lives in Switzerland by the way, she also really loves Nutiden, because this is the whole blanket is knit with unspun yarns from Honor Oak Air, so Nutiden yarns, and she also loved them. And in the last shop update she bought a colorway, I don't know the name, it's the light blue one, and she wasn't really a fan when she actually received it, but she knows I love light blue, it's like my favorite color. So she was like, I can send it to you and maybe you can put that in the blanket, because she knows the blanket is mostly blue. And I was like, yes, please! And she also included in the package a very small nugget of the minty green that was in the shop update, because I know she bought it for herself, but she just kindly included a little nugget of that, and I had just enough to make one of the rows of the flowers, not petals, leaves with the green. So this row is knit with the mint green, and this is with the light blue she sent. And I again won an epic game of yarn chicken, because I have this much left of what she sent. So it was just enough to do this, those few, like 5 rows of this, and I have this much left. I'm so happy. It ended up working so perfectly. So yeah, it's a big win. And this is the light blue plate she sent. So this is what I used at the center. Then I switched to the mint green, and then I did this part in light blue again. And oh, it's so beautiful. I just love light blue. I'm completely obsessing about this color. So yeah, and I also used This I got in a mystery bag maybe 2 years ago, no, last year. The colorway is Float, it's just a white. And I used it as a background color, so I have a bit left, but I used almost everything in here. And this is something I got also in the latest shop update, so the same shop update where my friend bought this, but I bought a mystery bag and I got this, so it's the same collection, and it's actually the sibling to this colorway because this is the same color, but with a lot of dark grey mixed in it. So this is mixed with white, I think, and this is mixed with dark grey. So it's the same base, but mixed with something else, and you get two very different colors, and they are beautiful together. So you can see it, the flowers here on it with a stormy blue. And yeah, so the grey I used here in the middle and at the border here is the same grey I used in the center of the blanket. I'm gonna show you just after that. And the last row here is the very dark grey that I'm using on the second layer of the blanket. I'm gonna show you, it's gonna be easier to explain. Ta-da! Look at this beauty! It's so amazing. So this is the half point, and it's folded, the half is folded at the back, so you cannot see it, but yeah, it's basically the same as this, but on the back. And this guy is going here. Wow. Wait, maybe I can... Battery change, but it's finished! Yes! This took so long, I just can't believe it's finally done. I mean, done. I still need to sew everything together, obviously, but I'm just so happy I finally did it, and pretty proud of myself for pushing it until now. And talking about pushing it, I actually need the 4 hexes I had left since the latest episode in 10 days because I was just so tired of it. I just wanted it to be done. So I was usually working 1 hexie per week since December, and I just finished the last 4 in 10 days because I was like, I'm done. So I need this one, this one, this one, and the last one within 10 days after the last episode. So yeah, now it's finished. I'm just taking a break for a few weeks, taking some time to admire this guy, which is so beautiful in the center. I mean, I love the kind of fade. I'm not a fan of how this blue is not speaking to the turquoise teal stuff that's happening there, but whatever. Yeah, and yeah, I'm just so happy. So this is it, and I'm probably going to start piecing it, I don't know, maybe in August, or maybe next week, I don't know, we will see. Yeah, so that's it for the knitting. Now I'm seeing the blanket there, and I just put the middle piece for the first time. I think I'm gonna start piecing it immediately because I just want to have it finished. It's so beautiful. Anyway, so that's it for the knitting and the sewing for today. And I just wanted to add for the acquisitions, this is very related to the blanket actually, because this is the yarn I'm going to use to piece everything together. This is also something my friend sent me in the same package where she sent me the knitted yarn, and it's Lo&Behold. And it's almost exactly the same color as the background color, I mean the main color I used. So on the outer edge I used this one, which is Mörker 2023, and on the inside hexes I used this one, which is Trull. So it's a very dark brown, grey brown, and this is just very dark brown but darker. So if you see both of them together, this one is kind of heathered in grey, this one is just brown, black brown. And I could sew using the knitted end, but it would be a pain, but I could do it. You just have to kind of spin the yarn. You can just do it with the... I mean, I can show you. No, stay here. If you just thread the knitted end on your darning needle, like this, and then you just spin your needle, and you get twists in your yarn. And once you have it spun for a while, of course it's, it's spinning on itself, but yeah, this is much easier to sew with. So I could do that, but I know my friend who sent me the knitted end, she has her mom, which is knitting a project with this exact colorway, and it's completely sold out since 6 months. So there is no other way to get it than from people who have it. And I actually have a whole plate plus this left. So I think I prefer sending this to her rather than suffering and using it in the blanket. So I just wanted to see if I could find something else to sew everything together, knowing I need 2 different browns, because I have the very dark brown and this one. So in my stash I found this guy, which is Woolly Mammoth Fibers. This is gonna be hard to say. Swartpels and Blue Texel blend, and it's a very dark brown, and as you can tell, it's a perfect match for this guy. So I have more than enough to piece all the hexes that have this main color, but I still needed something for this one. And my friend had something in her stash, and she was like, I just send it to you and just see if it works or not. And I mean, it's perfect. So this is Let Lope by Istex. It's a little bit light, but I mean, it's really, it's more than good enough for me. So I can piece the hexes that have this color with this one. And I have more than enough again, because I have 2.5 balls. So I can do something else with it. Actually, I have an idea. So I'm just gonna use this leftover to piece the outer hexes and use this to piece the inside hexes. And it's perfect! I'm just so happy. Everything is coming together in such a pleasant and satisfying way. It's just perfect. So yeah, I'm super excited to finish this. I have everything I need. And yeah, I'm happy! Anyway, so that's it for my kind of acquisition. I didn't buy anything, but yeah, it's the new yarn that entered my life. And yeah. Speaking about life, I mentioned I have some updates. So first, what happened in the latest 2 weeks? Oh yeah, I wanted to mention I received, over the past year that I've been filming the podcast, I received actually quite a lot of messages from people saying that they also climb, or that are just interested in climbing in general, and just being very grateful and enjoying the content I put regarding climbing, either footage or just talking about my experience in climbing. And it really makes me happy because it's totally out of subject with the knitting. I mean, really, I don't know a lot of knitters that are climbers, and I'd share about it in the podcast. I mean, any. I don't know any. And yeah, so I was kind of afraid that people would think this is weird and that it's not interesting, and they just don't care, and they're like, why is she talking about that? But yeah, actually I'm happy to see that a lot of people enjoy it, and I'm very thankful to you guys for reaching out and saying that you actually enjoy that, because it really boosts my confidence regarding sharing that, so thank you first. And yeah, so now I can talk about climbing. It's not going to become a climbing podcast, of course, but yeah, just a little update on what I've been doing. If you see the last image when the podcast is finished, I mean the kind of credits image, there are no credits, but at the very end of the podcast, it's a picture of mountains, very beautiful mountains, and the place where I snapped the picture is where I went climbing yesterday. So it's a place that has a very beautiful view, and the place in itself is also beautiful, but since I am at the bottom of the cliff, it's kind of difficult to take a nice picture, but yeah, this is the view from the back. And yeah, so I was there yesterday, and it's a climbing spot where there are a lot of like 7As, all the 7 grades. You don't really need to know what the grades refer to, but it's like just ranking the difficulty. So there are a lot of 7s, and I usually climb 7A, 7A plus. I have flashed 7A or 7A plus, and it can also take me like 3 sessions to finish one. It depends. It's just my usual climbing grade. And this time I decided to grade up and to try a 7B. I have never climbed the 7B. I have climbed the 7C. But yeah, I just thought maybe this is the year I will do a 7B. I have never tried before, so. But it should be fine. So yeah, I did that. I started working on it, so it's going to be my project for the summer. So yeah, I'm super excited. It was glorious. I mean, the route is absolutely beautiful. It's so amazing. I didn't take any footage because it was just like the discovery, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so it was mainly me hanging in the rope and just staring at the wall like this, trying to see what was the best course of action to take. I also took quite a lot of big falls. That would have been funny to see, but I didn't film them. So yeah, maybe next time I go, if I do a real try from the ground, I will maybe film it and show you. But yeah, that's the news on the climbing life. I'm trying a 7B route. It's a pretty serious one, and yeah, it's exciting. So that's it for the climbing, and now the news on my personal life I wanted to give. I mentioned that my situation has changed, and it's a good thing for the podcast and for the YouTube channel. Basically, I just don't really want to go too much into details, but I did mention in the precedent episode that I really don't like my job, and I'm just saying it in a light-hearted way here, but it's not funny at all. And basically my doctor and my therapists ended up putting me on a sick leave because it was not possible anymore. So I'm currently not working, so I have all the free time in the world to knit and just do whatever makes me happy instead of suffering at work, which is excellent news. I'm of course not going to go into the details of what's happening next to that, because I'm taking this space, YouTube context as really one of my safe spaces. This is really somewhere where I can come and chat about stuff that I'm passionate about, that I love, with people that enjoy it as much as me, and it has been somewhere where I could decompress and just feel great about myself and just enjoy what I'm doing since I started it. So it's kind of why I started it at the beginning, and it's really it's working super great. It's doing wonders for me, and I really love coming here, and I'm not gonna stop, especially not since I have a lot more free time now, and I need to fill up my time with things that make me happy. So I'm probably gonna be a little bit more present here, which is great. I don't know for how long I'm going to be off work. We'll see. But yeah, it's a great thing for you, so I'm probably going to post, as I mentioned, a little bit more. And I think the next episode is actually going to be, usually I post every 2 weeks, but I think the next one will be next week. Probably I will post on Friday, because something absolutely not fun is happening on Friday. I'm gonna get 2 wisdom teeth removed, because I have already removed 2 when I was a teenager, but I never removed the 2 remaining. It was horrible. They were inside my gums, is that how you call the pink thing in your mouth? Like really inside, and they were just laying horizontally. So yeah, you can imagine what the dentist had to do to remove them. So yeah, I was kind of traumatized by the experience. So I'm absolutely not looking forward to going back, but it needs to be done because I had some infections and stuff happening because the teeth are still there and they just need to get removed. So it's gonna happen next Friday. Yes. So I think I will probably film on Thursday. I will probably have enough content by the time. And yeah, edit and post it while I recover from the surgery, basically. So I'll probably see you again next week, and then my plan, very loose plan, I'm still not sure what's gonna happen, but I think I will probably do like a vlog series during the summer, like, because I have a lot of projects of stuff I have just left on the side for a while that I need to finish. Like, for example, I need to unravel this guy and use it for the other thing I wanted to do. I need to finish the blanket, I need to finish the quilted blanket, and yeah, I have just a lot of stuff like this, big or small, that I need to finish, and I figured why not do like a summer vlogging series where I tackle a task each day and see how much objects and lingering projects I can finish. That would be super satisfying. So yeah, maybe that is coming. Probably after I recover from the surgery, of course. But yeah, it's just something I was thinking about, and I thought could be great. Yeah, and also climbing a lot. I'm not sure I could take you with me vlogging at the climbing crag, but who knows, maybe. So that's it for today. So I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed myself, as always, but I say that all the time, but yeah, it was a pleasure to talk with you for today, and I hope you enjoyed as well. I hope you had time to knit on the things that you love. As always, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the comments, the likes, and the subscribes, and everything. It just... I love you. I love you, and the interactions with you. Thank you. Anyway, I'm rambling, so thank you, and I will see you next week. Bye.